Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Rock Shop with Ralph, your source for all things entertainment. Tonight on the show, we have Sirius XM DJ and current Dictators guitarist and Frankenstein 3000 guitarist, Mr. Keith Roth. You know his voice. I know you know his voice, but maybe you didn't know his face. But we got his voice. Go ahead, Keith, say it. You're what?
I was going to say, when I'm not on the air, I also do those 1-800 things. So I gotta keep my voice in good shape there. You know what I'm saying, Ralph?
There you
go.
Good
to see you, buddy.
Thanks.
New York
Thanks.
in the house.
Yeah, New York in the house. Bronx native Keith Roth.
That's it, baby. It's all about. I just took my Co-op City shirt off. I was stuck in traffic, and I settled in. I opened up a White Claw, shall I say, and I'm gonna chat with Ralph for a bit. I'm looking forward to it, man. I know we've been talking about this for a minute.
Yeah, thank you. It's funny because my accent gets mentioned a lot in interviews. I interviewed Terry Elaus from XYZ, and he had a ball with my accent, and he kept saying, yo, Vinny. The only people that didn't say anything was Anthony Esposito from
yeah, I know
Lynch
Anthony.
Mob. Yeah.
Yep.
He was down with it. Johnny Kelly from Quiet Riot and Typo, you know him.
Right.
Carmine, Vinny Appice.
Yep.
Yeah, all those guys.
Yeah. And
you just played with Carmine
because we're all New Yorkers. What's that?
You just played with Carmine, right?
Yeah, I played with Carmine in June, but I've known him for a long time. I love that guy.
He's going to be coming on the show. I didn't get him yet, but he'll be coming on. Hopefully, fingers crossed, soon. We have mutual friends together.
I always bust his chops. I always say, Carmine, when I'm stuck in traffic, I love to call you because you make the traffic. You make the time go quick because he's got the best stories in the world, right around that guy.
Yeah, he's got his own show too called Hanging and Banging.
Let me tell you something. He does this thing called the Carmine Apiece Weather Report, right? And I was the one that started that for him back in 2003. And it used to be like, where in the world is Carmine? And we started this weather thing. And he said, when you talk to him, I guarantee you he'll give me the credit for starting that up. I started his radio career back in like 2000, 2002.
Really? All right.
Guy. Good.
Thank you. Thanks for the tip. I'll definitely mention that to him. I was just about to say something, and as I talked to you before, I say sometimes my mind goes haywire. But anyway,
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. He keeps mentioning his hair nowadays because he's got it all gray now.
Yeah, I saw him. I mean, I'll tell you what though, as you were mentioning that show we did at the Monmouth Middletown Arts Center back in June, that was a fun night. But I hadn't seen him in a minute, like nobody's seen anybody. And Carmine's got to be into his 70s now. I mean, he's gonna have his 75th birthday in a couple of months. Let me tell you, man, that guy is still the groove master, man.
Right.
And he's got so much energy in life. I always say this, and you hear me say it on the air, but everybody I know that don't think about how old they are, they haven't changed at all. I mean,
right.
Like David Johansen, another New York guy, Staten Island guy. I've been working with him for 20 years. I mean, he's 71 now. It's the same shit when 30 years ago. Nothing's changed because they don't think, oh my God, I'm 71. That's a curse, man. Just keep living and having fun and doing what you do. And
exactly.
Get what you
I say this every day above ground is a good day.
That's right.
When you mentioned David Johansen, I always remember two things: Buster Poindexter and Scrooged.
Yeah. He gets that a lot. I feel bad for him, man, because we walk around the city a lot and people come up to him for so many different things. Hey, for Johnny. Right. Hey, Buster, and it's like one guy came up running, man. I mean, he freaked us out and he's like, I can't believe I'm, meeting you. I thought maybe he was going to bust his chops about the dolls or
right.
Buster. And he's like, you're in my favorite movie. And he goes, what's that? He goes, Car 54. He goes, that was your favorite movie?
Oh my God.
And we walked on. But
Car 54, that was his favorite movie. What a dud that was.
Yeah, that was like David himself was shocked.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. But anyway, you grew up in the Bronx.
Yep.
And then you moved to Jersey.
Correct.
And you got your start. I love the call it WRAT.
Yeah, 95.9. I mean, that's a channel that started up back in I think 97 or 98, and I was playing with a band. I had just gotten home. I did 8 years with this band. The album went wood. And it was a really rainy day, but you never know who you're going to meet. And it's always pays to be nice to people. But a publicist that worked this record moved out of my neck of the woods. And she said, there's a new radio station opening up in Belmore called The Rat 95.9 and asked us, and asked me if I'd be interested in doing a show. I sold an idea of a show. and would you be interested in being a co-host with me? And it was a really miserable rainy day, and I was just like in a shitty mood. And I'm like, the last thing I want to do is front sell and back sell like bands. But she's like, no, it ain't gonna be like that. Like, because me and her hit it off really well. We were big Bowie fans and Mark Bolan fans and Slade fans, and we really had a lot in common with music, and we knew a lot of the same people. And I'm like, sure, I'll go to this meeting. And my daughter at that time was just born. I dropped on the table. I was real cocky. I walked in, I dropped my kid on the table, and like, and they were crazy enough to take a chance. And we started a show called Electric Ballroom that's been running since 1998. And I love doing that show. And we've had, like you said, like 1,000 guests, and there's no format to it. We've had everybody do that show, from the Ramones to the Clash to Rudy Ray Moore to you name it. But
Rudy Ray Moore.
Oh yeah, the late great
Dolomite?
Rudy Ray Moore. He was the best, man. I had such a great time with him. God
That's
rest his soul.
Dolomite.
What, Dolomite? Yeah. He was funny, man. We had a great time with him. But it's sad because doing that show for so many years and so many people we lost along the way. You think about it. But that's how I got into radio. I had no aspirations to do radio. And people always said, man, you got a great voice for radio.
Yeah.
Also a great face for radio too.
Yeah, I got the face for radio. You got the voice.
But somehow it just happened. It's like, you throw yourself into the world of music. I know you play drums, so it's like, you never know where it's going to lead to. You jump on the path and these things pop up.
Right. Well, one thing I want to mention about WRAT, I always laugh because if you see above me, I got my Sopranos and Goodfellas picture. Yeah. There was an episode on the Sopranos where they were talking about a guy that was talking with the government. He goes, WRAT. Yep.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I remember, like, yeah. And what the funny thing is, walking into the radio station a few times right after that episode aired, there literally would be dead rats sitting there. Like somebody would actually kill some rats and throw them on the walkway when you walked in, man. It was pretty heavy. But there was someone mentioned the rat in the Sopranos, one of the episodes of the Sopranos. Yeah,
we mentioned Eddie before, and I a lot of people call me the poor man's Eddie Trunk because
that's a compliment.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, this is why I got my show. I love music. I love movies. I love music and movie trivia. Mm-hmm. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm just saying I'm always people's lifelines when they want to know a line from a movie, or they want to know what year what year the Kiss Destroyer come out. They'll call me up. But Eddie Trunk, you're very friendly with him, right?
I've known Eddie for 30 years. He's a few years older than me. He's a great guy. I love him to death. He's the real deal. I say it, but people, like, if you meet him at the airport or you run into him at a supermarket.
Hey, Keith, how you doing, Keith?
I mean, but it's like he talks music. Like, like that's the guy that's on the air is the same guy that, like, he eats, breathes, and sleeps music. I mean, he's the real deal. And in all the years he's been doing it, never got jaded, always been a great guy. And he's all about the truth. And nothing but the truth, and for the fans. I mean, and
right.
I can't say nothing but great things about the guy. I love
in the early days before he got as big as he is now with that metal show and stuff, I would email him trivia questions, like try to stump him, and he would email me right back all the time, and he would get them all the time. I actually got some trivia from him that I used in one of my interviews because I interviewed. Remember the band Taiketo?
Oh yeah, Taiketo. We used to play with them all the time back in the early 90s. Yeah, they were good guys.
I interviewed both Danny Vaughan and Michael Arbini, who was known as Michael Clayton, which is funny.
I know,
too.
Mike Arbini. I remember when I was a kid, he was a kid. He used to play drums in a band called Dreamer with Vito.
Exactly, with Vito Bratta.
Yeah, I mean, I've known Michael for a long time.
Right, and that was brought up because he told me that Michael Arbini, when I used to hang out in Lemoore in Brooklyn, great guys, sit, drink, all, he said, I was in a band Dreamer with Vito Bratta because I was fascinated with Vito Bratta back in the day. You're talking 89 to 92 in White Lions, big years.
Right.
And he says, I was in a band called Dreamer with Vito Bratta, and we talked about it. So then I try to stump Eddie. I go, Eddie, what band was Michael Clayton in with Vito Bratta before White Lion? And he goes, oh, Dreamer, that's easy.
Yeah, I knew he would know that in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And Eddie was of legal drinking age at that point to actually, to really be on the circuit. I used to work at a club called Close Encounters in Sayreville, New Jersey on Route 35. And Michael used to play there. I don't know if it was with Dreamer, but I always say with these documentaries that are being made now, they should make a documentary on this club because back in those days, I mean, you know, Dave the Snake Zabo and Scotty and Rachel, John Bon Jovi's wife Dorothea used to bartend there. And, you know, and John was like, you know, he wasn't really a star yet. I mean, he had a couple records out doing direct support, but there was a moment there when his career exploded. And then, you know, he helped out the Skid Row guys, and then they exploded. And this is a club that we all worked and hung out at. Zach Wilde played there every Saturday night. And it all really came out of this club. And, you know, the guys in TT Quick, you probably remember TT Quick.
Sure.
And Prophet. I mean, they, you know, they would play.
Carl Kennedy produced those albums. I had him on my show. Carl Kennedy, the drummer from the Rods.
Oh yeah, he was great.
He produced those albums.
Yeah. He did stuff for Megaforce, right? And yeah,
he did Anthrax's albums. He did TT Quick. You know, he did those. But yeah, I know you're a who's who. I love. You know, we're gonna get into the SIRIUS in a minute, but I love how, you know, you're trying to eat up airtime. You don't want to have any dead space, and you always have a little bit of a story before a song. And that's what I'm fascinated with you when I listen to you on the radio. I'm a big Hair Nation fan, big Boneyard fan. You know, my era of music. And I always say this fucking guy was all over the place, man. You know,
it's just fortunate, man. Hey, look, I got the bug when I was a little kid, man. I was 8 years old, and I was fortunate enough to go see Led Zeppelin at the Garden in '77. I was a little kid. My parents were going to a wedding out in Long Island, a place called Leonard's. Maybe you even know the place.
Oh, yeah, great, Nick.
Yeah, right. So
I actually live on the island now. Hey, let me ask you before you start that. Does Snake and Scotty live on the island?
Well, I mean, Snake does, yeah.
I heard people say, "Oh, I saw Dave Snake Sable." I'm like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here! He's from Jersey." But I saw him at All American Burger.
Well, you know, he was a Jersey guy, and then, you know, not only does he play guitar in Skid Row, but he also works for McGee Entertainment. He manages, you know, he works with Doc McGee. Yeah. And then he moved out to LA, and then he met this wonderful girl, and he got married, and he lives on the island. He's been in the island for a lot of years. And Scotty, he's out in Los Angeles. None of them are in Jersey anymore.
Right.
None of them are. Yeah.
Go ahead with your story. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that was it. There, you know, so Snake does live out in the island, and Scotty's in Long Island, but those guys are, you know, my Jersey drinking buddies, man. But we pick it up right where we left off. Right.
Well, you mentioned in Skid Row, so I got to ask you, what's your take on that? You think Sebastian's ever going to be back in a band?
No
way, right?
No way.
Burn those bridges.
You know what it is? I think those guys kind of accepted the fact that, like, you know, sure, a lot of these bands, they go out and they can get together and, you know, do an arena tour. And I'm sure some of those guys would, but I don't know. I mean, you know, it's gotten close a few times, and then something seems to happen. I just think there's bad juju in the air. I mean, look, I really don't know Sebastian that well. I mean, you know, he knows who I am because I'm close with those guys. I just think that they're really happy in what they're doing. And, you know, maybe, but then again, I said that with Guns N' Roses. I never thought that Slash and Duff would get together with Axl and do it. So you never know. But if, you know, I'm a bit of a betting guy. I would bet that it wouldn't happen. Right. But if they're going to do it, they should do it soon, because they all kind of look the same. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It'll be good, but fans would love it.
I know. I met Sebastian. I mean, great guy. Very, very personable. I haven't met anybody else. Actually, I was up close. I met Johnny Solinger. Rest in peace.
God rest his soul.
I actually, what a great guy. I actually had correspondence. We've been corresponding for a couple of months. He sent me unreleased music. I have it in my phone. You know. And I didn't know he was sick.
Yeah, me neither.
He was
heard
dying.
From him like about 2 months before he died, just catching up. And you know, I love Johnny from the moment he joined, because the weird thing was,
great records with Skid Row.
Yeah, great records. I mean, the whole thing was weird, because I was in a band with Scotty called Chrome Daddy with Sean, and that morphed into what became Ozone Monday, if you remember that. And
with Rachel,
and then you know, Sean had left the band, and then they said, let's reform Skid Row, and they got Johnny. And I remember when he came in from Detroit, and friendly, you know, great friends with him. I loved him, man. I mean, the last time I saw him, we all went to a Knick game together. It was me, Snake, and my wife, and Johnny, and you know, that was a long time ago. So I hadn't seen him in a long time, but we always kept in touch, you know, via Facebook or email or text or whatever. Very sad to hear of his passing. He was a young guy too. I know he was texting me up till like a month before he died. I have it in my phone. I mean, it was like, you know, here's some new music. He did something with Rowan Robertson, who played with Dio. You know, and he was maybe you could put it up, maybe you could put it on your show. I'm like, yeah, great. You know, let's just set up a date.
and then he just stopped texting, and then he posted that he wasn't feeling well, and then he was gone.
Yeah, someone told me about a GoFundMe that he had, and when I looked into it, literally the day it was like the day or two before he passed away, and I was very upset to hear that because he was a righteous dude, a really great guy.
Yeah, then they got Tony Harnell, who, just didn't fit that band.
Yeah, I mean, I know Tony. I've known Tony for years. As a matter of fact, I'm in a band with his ex-wife Amy, and I know that they're still very close. But Tony is, a great singer.
Yes,
I didn't, I never got to see him with Skid Row. It was a little interesting to hear that, but I think they got the right guy now, Skid Row, and I think Tony's doing his own thing. I think everybody's
cool. Tony's doing ZP3. Is that how you pronounce it?
Your guess is
He's from South Africa. ZP3.
Right. Dragon Force.
Yeah, from Dragon Force. THEART 3, I guess, whatever.
Right.
So, you're on Sirius XM, Hair Nation and Boneyard, and your catchphrase is "My brother from another mother."
Yeah,
and you always telling stories and do a lot of interviews. So you could probably tell by all my memorabilia and posters back here who I'm going to.
I love it, man.
Kiss. I know you interviewed them, and you did the show the live show they did on satellite radio
at the Whiskey.
At the Whiskey, correct. What could you tell me about those guys?
Well, first of all, Ace is a friend of mine. Like, as a matter of fact,
another Bronx boy,
another Bronx guy. The last night he drank was at a Frankenstein 3000 show at Don Hills. If you remember Don Hills in New York City,
sure.
But
Nikki Camp was on my show.
Oh yeah, Nikki. Gosh, man, we know all the same people.
Yeah.
But you know what? I like all those guys in Kiss. I mean, they remind me of the Ramones because you've never met guys with such different personalities like the Ramones. Like, they were all so different, and I think they're all great. Like Gene Simmons to me is like that crazy uncle that we all had. He likes to hear himself talk, but he's got a good heart and he's a good guy. I mean, he's got this persona. Paul Stanley is rock and roll to the bone and gives a shit about all his, everything that they've done. And, he has regrets about certain music, but, he's the epitome of a rock star. And Ace Frehley is the Keith Richards of the next generation,
Right.
Peter's the least guy I know. So, but a couple experiences with Peter, he seems like a very sweet guy,
Yes.
But, they're easy to talk to.
When you do an interview with Kiss, do they give you like a set of questions that you can ask, or do they tell you can't ask about this, you can't ask about that?
I wouldn't do the interview then. I would pass it on to somebody else.
But you've had people do that to you?
No, but I know that it happens, but never to me. Just like you want to. I mean, you don't need to be a brain surgeon to figure out if they got a show coming up or a tour to start. You know what it's all about. But I always get Gene on trivia, like we're both big sci-fi guys, and we both love the movie The Omega Man and Soylent Green. So I deter him from his curriculum of what he wants to promote. And he was saying, one time he said to me, which I thought was funny, he's like, well, I'd like to go see the Stones and have them play like Citadel. And I'm like, exactly. I'm like, so these shows, you're going to take me to that show. He goes, no, man, I'm straight, But the funny thing is like, that's what Kiss gets, ridiculed for playing the same set. So he gets it as a fan of like, he's a fan of the Stones. He wants to see them go deep, but he understands that. But I think because of their production and the way everything is kind of cued and signaled, they really can't do that because they're kind of locked into it. But I think if the band had full freedom, I mean, who knows, they may play the Elder in its entirety, if they could.
What's your thoughts on it? Do you think it is the end of the road? Do you think they're going to stop?
Oh, no doubt.
Never again?
No, I think they're going to do like a show on New Year's Eve every year. And I think that they'll do something like those Kiss cruises. But I think like it'll be more of like an event, a yearly event.
Right.
I think that show in New York, wherever it'll be, and I'm betting it's Citi Field, since you're a Queens guy.
Yeah.
I remember Gene Simmons said to me many years ago, he's like, I'm going to play that last note of my bass at Shea Stadium. This is when Shea Stadium was still open. I'm going to hand my bass to somebody. I'm never going to pick it up again. But this was in 1990, whatever,
Right.
What I mean? I think that there won't be any more touring, but, yeah, I'm sure there'll be shows.
Right. Motley Crue. I want to mention them to you. I'm gonna go through the Hair Nation bands.
Okay.
What's your take on Vince? And
I got to be honest, I mean, I like the first Motley Crue record. I like Dr. Feelgood. Never really, like a fan of them. I mean, I know some people love them and adore them, and like, God bless them, man. They did very well for themselves. But that, like the reason the Hair Nation stuff, I know people absolutely adore Motley Crue, but I think Vince needs to get his shit together. I mean, I think it's disrespectful because, these guys got a stadium tour. And what Nikki Sixx said about, it made perfect sense to me. It's like these people drive from all over the planet to come see you at that gig Monsters on the Mountain, and you come out there with a beer belly. It's, get it to, or just retire. Just say, I don't want to do this no more.
I mean, you got enough money to retire, but you came out of retirement because of the millions, and you're going to go out there falling off stage, be out of breath,
Not cool.
It's kind of sad, because I'm a huge fan of that music, and you see this guy and what he's doing to himself.
It's sad. Mick Mars got his shit together, and Mick Mars had a band, between this with David Johansen and Earl Slick. You know who Earl Slick is, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
And they recorded some stuff that was amazing. And you take Mick Mars out of that Motley Crue world, and you're going to hear a guitar player that you can't even believe.
Right.
And I from really good sources, I had heard that when the Stones were having some issues with Ronnie Wood, that Mick Mars's name actually popped up. Because that's, I know it sounds completely bizarre, but I'm not going to bullshit.
To me, it doesn't. No.
He's great. I mean, the Vince Neil thing, I mean, it's upsetting because, get himself in fighting shape, go out there. I don't know if this is a final tour or whatever, but you owe that, or don't do it. One or the other.
Van Halen, we lost Eddie Van Halen. They just announced they're doing a 50th anniversary of Van Halen.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it was just announced. They're doing it's just an anniversary show. I guess they're gonna pay tribute to Eddie. They didn't announce who the guitarist is gonna be. My guess is they're gonna be using multiple guitarists.
I would think Wolfie would be the guy, right?
To play his father, to do his father stuff.
I mean, I heard he's got that kind of talent. So
I mean, he's talented. I know that, but a virtuoso like his father.
I don't know. I mean,
but anyway,
I'm curious to see what this is all about.
Yeah, you always tell a story about Dave outside a club smoking a bone.
It was actually the Parker Meridian Hotel in New York City on 56th Street. Yeah, that was amazing. Because I mean, it was 16 years old, and we were talking to these girls in front of the Parker Meridian Hotel. They were waiting outside for the band Arcadia, which was a Duran Duran offshoot, and I'll never forget, the girl goes, "You guys probably like Van Halen," and we're like, "Oh yeah, of course." She's like, "There's David Lee Roth," and we look over, and if you saw the video, he's got the hair tied back, and he's got the baseball hat on, and he's got his foot up on the glass of the Parker Meridian Hotel with this girl sitting next to him, standing next to him, and my friend couldn't contain himself, and he ran over to him, and he didn't know what to say, and he's like, "Dave, you have any more reefer?" And Dave was smoking a joint. And he didn't say a word to this guy, and he just took this big hit off this joint and went like this to the girl, like, "Come on, let's get out of here," and exhaled and passed him the rest of the joint and just walked down 56th Street. It was the coolest thing ever.
I love that story. I remember you telling that story.
Yeah. I told it on when I was honored to do the Van Halen hosting when he passed, and I met Edward, a few times. He's a great guy. They're all really cool guys, I mean, but shortly after, we had snuck up to Eddie's room right after that. It was on the 36th floor, and he was with Valerie at that point, and he let us in the room. I mean, we knocked on the door. She gave us the room number. These girls knew everything, and it was 3601, I think it was. And imagine this, right? You bang on the door, and it's probably not going to be Eddie Van Halen's room. They're going to call the cops on us, but we're degenerate kids. We'll run. We'll run down the staircase. Right. And he answers the door.
Oh shit!
And he goes, "I'm on the phone. Wait a minute." And that was it. So we waited like 5 minutes, and we banged again. And he goes, "I'm on the fucking phone. Wait a minute." So he slams the door. So we hid in the staircase. There was a stairwell. And now in between, we see some of the roadies coming up there. I actually met his guitar tech that night, Rudy Liren, great guy. And he was so happy that we got pictures with him afterwards because they were Polaroids. He's like, you know, no one really meets these guys, but you guys are good kids and you guys got something about you. I'm glad it happened. But anyway, we said, you know what, we're going to try one more time. And if he throws us out, we're just going to go home or whatever, hit the city. And we literally walked out of the staircase and there he was in the hallway. And he was putting the credit card into the, now that was the time, remember, before they switched over from keys to credit cards.
Right.
And he doesn't say, and he goes, you know how to use these fucking things? And he's trying to open his door with the card. And he was so nice, man. And you know, we bullshitted with him in the hallway. And then he's like, you guys could come in. And Valerie was in there and he had that red and white striped guitar on the bed.
Wow.
And you know, and he gave us like bud cans. I still have the bud can somewhere. He signed it, gave us like guitar picks. He let us like, you know, play some chords on his guitar, and it hung for like 20 minutes. And then we left. And then he had that. And then they left from the Parker Meridian and they drove to the Meadowlands. They played that the next, not that night, but the next day. But that night they went to the Meadowlands hotel, arena and shot the video for Panama.
Awesome.
So
awesome
this was
stories,
like those
man.
pictures that are, people see that picture on my Facebook page and they're like, I mean, literally he shot the video. That was the shirt and bandana, the whole thing. He was a great guy. And then I met him years ago, years after that on Monsters of Rock. And, you know,
all your stories and your knowledge. You ever think about putting a book together?
Yeah, I have, but I'm going to wait a bit, you know, because, you know, I mean, it's fun doing radio and sharing some of these stories. And I was fortunate, you know, because we love rock and roll. We love music, man. You know, this is what we wanted to, we were musicians and we wanted to be like these guys. So you kind of wanted to be around the aura of what these cats were all about. We kind of caught that at a young age and we learned a lot from just kind of hanging around. I mean, I remember when Eddie Van Halen, you know, fell down all the stairs at the, I think it was the Peppermint Lounge, and they canceled the tour, but you know, they said he slipped in the bathroom. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, right.
I guess a lot of it is luck, being in the right place at the right time,
right,
or being able to share some of this stuff.
You got to come
I
up
never
with
really
something.
even told that story before.
You know, I asked this question from time to time, Keith. And you know, you're an interviewer, you're in the business. Have you ever met someone that you idolized growing up or were very fond of, and then you met them and they were a total asshole?
Yeah. And then turned out to be, like, years later, the nicest guy in the world. But Joe Perry from Aerosmith.
Really? All right. So you named the name. Some people don't want to name a name.
No, I mean, because he rectified it years later. But Aerosmith was playing L'Amour's, I mean, not Aerosmith, Joe Perry Project was playing L'Amour's in Brooklyn. And he was in a whole different headspace. He wasn't the nicest guy that night. Fast forward to when they did the MTV Unplugged. And my buddy, Tony Black, and Tony Black has gone on to win Grammy Awards. So it was like this whole thing, you know, like Aerosmith was taking photos with fans, and Joe Perry comes out, and he had that look, because he's got that look like, don't talk to me. Right. But it's just the way his facial expressions are. And I said, don't even bother talking to this cat. And he stopped in his tracks and turned around and he talked to us for like, couldn't have been any nicer. He was like the nicest guy ever.
Did you tell him?
He kind of like almost knew, like, you know, like he said, I probably met this kid when I was like in a fucking haze. And he went out of his way to kind of make up for it. That's the way I'm feeling. But he was so nice, man. And then I ran into him up at SIRIUS. He's a great guy, you know, but that was the only time I really, you know, I mean, I've heard about, you know, Richie Blackmore. Richie Blackmore to me is a great guy. I think he's awesome, man.
He lives out here on the island.
Yeah, he does. I went to his Christmas party.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, years ago, but I always liked Richie and his wife, Candace. I think they're great. And a lot of times when they tell me people like, you know, they could be, I've never had any of those issues. Johnny Rotten. I had like the best 5 hours of my life with John, man.
Really?
Talking about Black Sabbath and Alice Cooper.
Wow.
You know, and drinking beers, and John Rotten, who's Johnny Lyde's an unbelievable guy. So, you know, I think it's the way you come off with some of these people, you know, but never, you know, the only one was Joe Perry, and he rectified it. So
my story was Sammy Hagar.
He was not nice to you, huh?
At Eddie Trunk's 30th anniversary, I was there. Eddie gave me tickets.
Was that the Hard Rock?
Excuse me? At the Hard Rock, yeah.
What, Judas Priest played?
No, the Winery Dogs. Ace Frehley was there. He played with Peter, the Winery Dogs.
I was there that night.
Lita Ford was there. Billy Sheehan.
So they're playing UFO songs.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm there, and I'm like by the with a photo op, they're snapping pictures and everything, and I'm like, because I'm a fan, you know, I'm like, holy shit, my mouth. Ace Frehley's 5 feet in front of me, you know, Lita Ford, Billy Sheehan, Don Jameson, you know, I'm like, holy shit. So there's a big big set of stairs behind me. Me and my best friend are there, and Sammy Hagar's walking down, and the drum, Vic Johnson, his drummer David Lauser, and Mona, his bass player.
Right.
So he stands right next to me, and I just turned to him, and I was like, "Hey, Sammy, how you doing?" Like this. He turns around to his drummer. He goes, "Ah, fucking shit. Let's get the fuck out of here." Just like that. Just like that. So I say, me from Queens, I'm like, "Wow, man, Sammy, you're a dick." Just like that, I said that. His drummer turns around, David Lauser, and goes, "Buddy, please, don't worry about it. He's having a bad day. I'm really sorry." And he pulls out a set of drumsticks and he hands it to me. Right. And that was my story. So I always say that because maybe he was having a bad day. But
yeah.
Even if you were, why would you say that to,
Yeah, you got to watch your P's and Q's, man. And these are the people that buy your records and
that 5150 album. I was 16 years old. I played the shit out of that. I lost my virginity to that album.
Well, there you go. I mean, hey, look, the few times that I met Sammy, very overly friendly guys. I think you just caught him on a bad moment.
That's what I'm saying. I hope I meet him again because I'm gonna bring it up because when I still buy his albums, every one of them. I watch his friggin' show, and I say to myself, this guy is so fucking nice on air. How the hell could he how could he say something like that? And I know he heard me because we were 2 feet away from each other. But anyway. That was my story.
Well, I think when you get your next opportunity to run into him, and I refer to him as the Jimmy Buffett of heavy metal, but I mean, I think I've heard nothing. And the times I've been around him, he seemed like a really pretty cool guy.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell his deal was.
Bad day. He's having a bad day.
I hope so. But like I said, I still support. I love his music. I love him. I still support him. I buy the records. I go to see him. So you're in Sirius Satellite. Here's a couple of questions I want to ask you about that.
Sure.
Are you in a studio when you're there, or your studio is at home and you're DJing from home?
Well, I mean, once the pandemic kicked in, none of us have been back up there because so we've all been doing it from home. I mean, I've had the ability to do it from home, but most of the time. I call it the Starship Enterprise because I had no idea what Sirius was when I got hired back in 2002 or 3. They called me about doing a punk rock show, which was interesting. And
the punk yard it was, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. And they're like, "Do you want to do a punk show?" And, we could put you on this channel called First Wave because, 80s alternative rock. And I'm like, okay, but what is this? Satellite. I had no idea what it was. I was like, some dude in his basement, like Wayne's World. I didn't know what it was. And then I went for, but the bread was worth coming up there, for once a week or whatever it was. And I never forget, like getting off that elevator and being on the Starship Enterprise. It was amazing. And I'd be like, I got to educate myself quickly on this. And then seeing old friends. I mean, literally when I got off the elevator, within 3 minutes, I saw Meg Griffin,
Scott Muni,
Carol Miller, and Pat St. John.
Scott Muni was dead.
What's that?
I said, no, Scott was dead before that. Pat St. John, Meg Griffin. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're all great people. And I'm like, okay, now I really want to educate myself. So I started out doing a punk show called The Punk Yard. And I worked on Left to Center and First Wave. And then Buzzsaw, a channel called Buzzsaw.
Yeah.
And then when they came together, Sirius and XM, then, it became the Boneyard, then Ozzy's Boneyard. And so I've been on Classic Rewind. I've done so many channels. I was on Octane for a while, but I've been on Hair Nation for a long time, and and Boneyard for like 10 years, and also on the Spectrum with David Johansen.
And you produce his show as well, right?
Yeah. That's like 2 third graders getting together. I mean, I feel guilty being paid for it because we laugh our asses off. I mean, it's hysterical. And he's one of the smartest people I've ever worked with in my life.
And he comes off like this street kid, the way he talks like this,
Yeah. Well, that's 24/7.
Yeah, 24/7.
But he's super intellect,
Right. It's called Ozzy's Boneyard. And Tommy London always says the man who signs my checks. Does Ozzy own it? Does Ozzy own that?
I mean, he's very involved with it, him and his company. I mean, they're on top of it. I mean, he's got carte blanche to do what he wants with Ozzy Speaks. You know, he's been, as you know, he's been coming up more and more with Billy doing
Duffy.
shows. But you know, they have a lot of say in what goes on there. And but you know, as far as signing the checks, I don't know. I don't see a check anymore. I'd like to see a check. You know,
You don't get paid?
well, I get paid, of course.
Right.
You know? But I mean, I'm talking about like an actual physical check.
Oh, yeah. It's direct deposit.
Yeah,
Is it more worth to be in satellite radio or terrestrial radio?
Satellite radio.
Monetarily. So you can make a comfortable living.
Well, I would say, you know, look, the company's been great to me, man. They're a great bunch of people. They're all top shelf. All the cats that work up there. There's super talented. I mean, the people at the Rat are super talented too. I mean, they gave me my start, you know, and I'm honored to be part of both of them. So, you know, I know a lot of people that have worked in other radio jobs. I've been fortunate because, you know, working for the Rat and working for Sirius XM. I mean, you know, these people are pros with 3 lines under it. So
Yeah.
they're all
You know,
great.
Celebrity Net Worth says you're worth $1 million. Is that true?
Oh, yeah? No, that's not true. I'm worth way more than that.
I had Tim Ripper Owens on the other day, and as a goof, I told him, I go, Celebrity Net Worth says you're worth $10 million. He goes, really? Is that why I'm in 24 different bands right now? You know,
Right, exactly.
And he owned. It was funny. He was on the TV show Bar Rescue, and we talked about it. How fake that is. It's all staged.
You know, you're not the first person I'd say about like how much you're worth. I mean, I did a movie, and the director. The movie's called Let Me Down Hard, and
Let
it's
Me
got
Down
some
Hard.
accolades. Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime now.
I was going to mention that, Keith. You're jumping, but go ahead.
Well, you know, I mean, but it's funny. The director did like one of those what you did, like searches on like value, and he's like, "Listen, man, you think you could finance the rest of this movie?" I'm like, "What are you?" I go, "What are you fucking talking about?" And he goes, "Well, your net worth is like $3 million." I'm like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah,
you know?
That's funny.
Yeah.
So, everybody, because Keith's pressed for time, I'm going to mention a couple other things, but I want to tell you, you got to tune in to Sirius XM, Hair Nation in the Boneyard. You know his voice. Now you have the face to the voice. One of my favorite DJs. Awesome.
I should have gotten dressed for the occasion, Ralph. You know.
Yeah, we get wherever we want.
I was stuck in New York. I'm stuck in New York traffic. I'm like, I got an interview with Ralph. I'm gonna be on the rock shop. I got to get. You know. Thanks for you know, dealing with my tardiness.
It's all good. It's all good. Last thing I want to mention, you just got like the gig of the lifetime for yourself, being the big punk fan that you are. You are the current guitarist in the rock band, the Dictators.
Oh yeah,
Handsome Dick Manitoba, Ross the Boss,
Andy Sheernoff.
Sheernoff.
Well, I mean, really, what happened was you know, I've been affiliated with the Dictators for years, but the funny story is, as a Bronx kid, I mean, they all went. You know, and my middle brother is 14 years older than me, but he went to school with Manitoba and Scott Kempner, top 10. So my first record that I bought with my own money, now I got a lot of hand-me-downs, was at Alexander's on Fordham Road. I bought Go Girl Crazy because I saw Manitoba on the cover, you know, looked like a pro wrestler. And then I was like, I got to get this. And I took it home and I heard those songs. So I've been a fan since I was a little kid. I mean, but then, you know, knowing those guys for years, and then for 7 years, Frankenstein 3000 did a summer thing with the Dictators, and one show, Dean couldn't do it. So I was an honorary Dictator. I filled in, but it's a little bit of a different band because Albert Bouchard from Blue Oyster Cult is playing drums. And
really?
It's really, Andy Sheernoff is back and Ross the Boss. And I'm playing second guitar. I mean, Ross is a beast. So me and Andy are singing, and it's a 4-piece. There's no Handsome Dick Manitoba. It's Andy Sheernoff, Andy Sheernoff, Ross the Boss, Albert Bouchard, and myself. Well, we're working on great stuff, man.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned Ross the Boss. When you see him, you tell him, Ralph wants to know why you didn't come on the show. He stood me up. We were all set up.
I'll talk to him in like 15 minutes from now. I'll let him know.
Yeah, tell him. And he's got my shirt too, my t-shirt.
Let me tell you something. That guy is one of the best guitar players on the planet.
He's a beast. I'm a huge fan of his. He was one of the first
incredible players. You know,
I'm going back a year ago when I first started. He was one of the first guests I had lined up. I wanted him, and I'll tell you a story. Yeah, I'll tell you a story about him real quick. I played softball. I up until 2 years ago I stopped, but I played for over 30 years, and my team were in a batting cage in Maspeth, Queens, and I'm like, I turn around, I look, I go, that's funny, man. That guy looks like fucking Ross the Boss, you know? The guy's filling a soda machine, you know, he's fucking picking stuff up. And I'm like, this looks like Ross the Boss. I fucking turn around. It's fucking Ross the Boss. He owns the fucking batting cage.
Yeah.
It's called The Cage. See, Ross, I'm giving you your business a plug.
On Metropolitan Avenue.
On Metropolitan Avenue. Yep. I'm like, of all the fucking places to see this guy, you know, I mean, I'm thinking Man of War. This guy's a fucking playing Man of War stuff, you know, and now he's filling soda machines and you know, picking up balls. But it's a great place. It's a profitable business, and it's a great business, and he does very well for himself.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I mean, I've been fortunate to play with a lot of great guitar players in my time. You know, Ross the Boss, Punky Meadows, Scotty Hill from Skid Row, Earl Slick from David Bowie's band. You know, I mean, so these guys.
Hey, with David Coverdale too, Earl Slick.
What's that?
He played on with David Coverdale on a couple of solo albums.
Oh, who did?
Earl Slick.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, Earl's played with David Bowie and John Lennon.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, so you know, I've been spoiled. You know, Tommy Tafaro from you know, grew up with JD. All these guys, you know, but you know, I mean, they're all great. But Ross is one of those guys that could really play anything. I mean, it's funny. It makes me laugh because you know we go into rehearsal sometimes and he's working out a part, and I'm just like, this guy, he's a freak. He's a freak. He's really great. And
I know. And you say to yourself, I'm playing like I got two left hands. This guy fucking makes it so easy.
Oh, he's great. I mean, but you know, we got some cool stuff coming. We got a video that'll come out next week. We got some you know, some singles that are going to come out, working on a record. We got a bunch of shows booked for next year, a lot of European stuff. And I'm definitely excited to be in the Dictators, you know, with Andy Sheernoff and Ross and Albert Bouchard, my buddy. So we're going to do some cool stuff, man. People are going to dig it.
Cool. Yeah. And Angel's supposed to be coming out with his a new record as well.
Yeah, it's done. It's called Saints and Sinners. It's coming out in February. You know, I played a very little, but I co-wrote a couple songs on the last on Punky's first record, Fallen Angel.
Yeah.
My good buddy Danny Aniello, not the actor, but got him out of retirement, and they, you know, started with the Punky Meadows band, which I was a part of, and then it morphed back in Angel with Frank Domino. But their next record that's coming out,
it's supposed to be
it's a masterpiece.
A masterpiece. That's what I heard.
I mean, Frank sounds like, it reminds me a hell of a band because I love that album. And you know, I heard it. We did a show with them a couple of weeks ago with another project that I play in, and they're on fire. So that's a great band too.
That's one band that woulda, coulda, should have been huge.
Yeah, I know. But you know, Punky's another guy, man. He's 70. He's like, let's do it now, man. Yeah. You know, but they did. You know, they were. I mean, come on, that guy could have the Kiss gig. You know, I mean, it was. He's another freak of a guitar player. I'd love to hear Punky Meadows and Ross the Boss go at it, like, you know, just kind of having fun with each other. That'd be insane.
Save it for your book.
That's right. That's right. No doubt.
All right. Listen, Keith, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
That was my pleasure, man.
You're part of the Rock Shop family.
All right.
Anytime you want to come on, you can call and we got you. But you tune into Sirius Satellite Sirius XM. Satellite radio is Keith Roth. He's on the Boneyard and he's on Hair Nation weekly. And last question: who is the one interview on your bucket list that you would love to do?
Keith Richards.
Keith Richards.
Yep. He's
never going to die.
No, I mean, we got to keep this planet in order for him. You know, when we all go. You know. No, I mean, you know, really. When we first started doing the Electric Ballroom in '98, we had a list like this big, and we had everybody done except for Keith Richards and David Bowie. And sadly, you know, David Bowie's
gone.
Yeah. So you know, maybe one day I'll get to interview Keith. You know, I missed him so many times by a few seconds, but that's the last one on my bucket list. I'd love to interview Keith Richards.
Cool. And you don't have a website, but you're on Facebook. Correct?
I'm on Facebook. You know, I'm not, you know, I mean, the one thing you know, I'm not big on the social media world. I'll throw stuff up out on Facebook, but you know, we get stuff done, but I mean, you know, other people do that, but you know, I mean, yeah, I'm on Facebook. So I try to stay up with it as best as I can.
Yes. Okay. So tune into Sirius Satellite Radio, Keith Roth, Hair Nation, Boneyard, my brother from another mother.
When is this airing?
In an hour.
All right, well, good. So people can come out and see Frankenstein 3000 on Friday, as we'll be doing direct support for Dokken at the Keswick Theater in outside of Philadelphia. You know.
Now, is it Dokken or Dokken with Lynch?
Dokken with Lynch.
So it's the Dokken because he does his Docking thing. He does Dock and Lynch.
This is Doc and Lynch.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the Keswick. We're doing direct support, and you know, for this upcoming Friday. So hopefully, we'll see some, you know, some peeps out there.
This will be up, and people are gonna watch it. So, and I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you in Messenger, or I can post it on your page if it's possible. But anyway,
yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Keith. Thanks a lot. Maybe we'll
Thanks,
sit
Ralph.
down. We'll sit down and have a beer one day, and we'll talk. We'll talk more about the music world.
Whatever you want,
And
man.
people we know. Thanks.
It was a pleasure getting to be on the Rock Shop. Have a
Thanks
good
a lot,
night,
brother.
people.
I'll see you. Bye.